Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the Gospel of John, chapter 18, verses 1 through 14. After his dialogue that began in John chapter 13, going all the way through John chapter 17, and the last chapter being really a prayer, the whole chapter being a prayer, Jesus has finished speaking, and they enter into the garden, a place they had gone many times, where Jesus would teach the disciples and where they rested and prayed. Judas knows all about this place because he's been there many times with Jesus. And there's no real indication in the text of the timeline between when Jesus and the disciples enter in there and how long before Judas shows up. Jesus has gone there to find peace. Judas shows up with warriors, right? The Greek words actually uses a Latin word, which gives us a reference that he comes with a squad of Roman soldiers, as well as armed officers from the Sanhedrin, from the priests and the Pharisees. Jesus knew this was going to happen, right? He had spoken about it many times. In fact, he knew that Judas was going to betray him. So he's not surprised by this, but he's ready for it. And as they arrive, he steps up. Because Jesus is not a victim in this. He's in control, right? He is exercising his Father's will that will take him to the cross and through the resurrection and into the ascension back to the right hand of God. And so he went out to them and says, "Who do you seek?" He takes the initiative. And they reply, "Jesus of Nazareth." Now, that is not a messianic title at that time, but it's messianic for us now, right? Because we know that Jesus of Nazareth, he is our champion. He is the one who fights to defeat sin and death and Satan. And so Jesus replies, "I am he." When Jesus speaks this, he's giving a sacred name, "I am." He speaks clearly this affirmation of his divine status, and it causes the soldiers and those with him to sort of stagger back, right? Again, he asks them, "Who is it that you want?" They reply again, "Jesus of Nazareth." He says it once again, I told you, I am. But then the next step, Jesus secures the release of his disciples. He, in effect, sanctions their escape. And why? Because he knows that they are needed for the next step of God's salvific work, which is the church, right? And as the text says, Jesus protects. He doesn't lose any of his sheep. Now, Simon Peter, Mr. Impulsive, draws out a dagger, that's clear from the Greek text, and cuts off the ear of Malchus, who is a servant of the high priest. It's a really puny effort considering there's like two squads of men there with swords. And with swords, not daggers, and shields. And the thing to recognize is that this violence accomplishes nothing, right? We as Christians must recognize that the sword never advances the cause of the cross. The cross is the end of violence. And Jesus stops Peter and says, "What are you doing? This is why I came, to drink the cup." And what cup is he speaking about? It is the cup of wrath, right? That Jesus is drinking the cup of wrath that we all deserve. But it is also the cup of promise by which we will have new life. Thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.